Hello and welcome to the How to Play video for Fire in the Library, designed by Tony Miller and John Prather and published by Weird Giraffe Games. The premise of this game is really simple. Players take on the role of librarians trying to save books from a fire that's in the library. Players will compete to save the most knowledge and be the bravest librarians by saving the books from the flames. As sections of the library burn, different books will become more and more valuable. The game ends immediately as soon as one section of the library has burned down completely, and at the end of the game, the librarian with the most knowledge saved wins. A quick note about the copy of the game seen in this video. This copy of the game is provided to me by Weird Giraffe Games and is what we call a review copy or prototype copy of the game. Components and art are not final in this copy of the game, so keep that in mind as you watch the video. Let's get started with setup. First things first, go ahead and take out all of the game components from the box. Score track, very important. A bag, that represents the library. You'll have turn order cards, which have the turn order number and then also charts that represent how many books you can carry. Reference cards, one for each player, with a little meeple in the corner that tells you what color it belongs to. Not super important, but helpful. Of course, the meeples, which represent you, the players or librarians, to use with the score track. Cubes or tokens, which represent the books. And then also fire, which represents the fire in the library. Then there are 2 decks of cards. Cute button, which is not maybe in the final copy. 2 decks of cards. Tool cards, which have the blue back. And then we have the actual library itself. For the library itself, there are 4 different sections, and you can figure out the sections by the art of the card or by the color book in the upper corner of the card, or lower corner, depending on which section of the library it is. These cards got a little jumbled, so I need to assemble my library correctly. Okay, so once you have the cards in their sections, go ahead and put the numbers in descending order. So you want the lower number on top, the higher number on bottom for each section of the library. That one's good to go. That one's good to go. Wow, this is really impressive. They were messed up and they're doing really good. So there you go. Then make sure the library is somewhere in the center of the table where all players can reach it. Just a quick note, the art in this game is done by Beth Sobel, and that is why it is so gorgeous. I'm going to go ahead and set up for a 3-player game. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 3 colored meeples to put near the score track. Boop. For 3 players, I'm going to need the first, second, and third player turn order cards. If you're playing with 4 players, you would obviously include the 4th player card, the 5th player for 5 players, and the 6th for 6 players. If you're playing with 2 players, go ahead and include the 3rd player turn order card. Then go ahead and give every player a reference card. We'll put purple over here, and we'll put orange right here, because that's me, and it's my favorite color. And we'll put teal right there. Any unused turn order cards, reference cards, or meeples can go back in the box. Now, let's prepare the library. Go ahead and take your bag, take all of the book cube tokens, and just dump them into the bag. Oop. Then you're going to go ahead and put a little bit of fire in the bag. So you're going to count out 7 fire tokens for the start of the game. Sound effects help. The 10 leftover fire cubes, go ahead and put somewhere near the board because you're probably going to need them as the fire spreads. If you're playing with 3 or more players, go ahead and shuffle all of the tool cards to make the tool deck. If you are playing with 2 players or 1 player, go ahead and remove the axe cards and the library cards. I'm setting up for a 3-player game, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle those into the deck. Go ahead and deal each player 2 tool cards face down that they can look at secretly. Then go ahead and put 3 tool cards face up in what will become the tool market, and put the deck close by so you can refill. And that's the setup for Fire in the Library. Now let's figure out who goes first. In Fire in the Library, turn order is determined by the turn order cards. So at the very beginning of the game, go ahead and mix up the turn order cards and randomly deal them to each player. Fire in the Library is played over several rounds, and the number of rounds is determined by how quickly the fire spreads and the library burns down. The game will end immediately as soon as one section of the library burns down completely. Every round, each player will have one turn, and their turn order is determined by the turn order cards. So first player will go first, then second, then third, so on and so forth. The beginning of every round starts with the turn order selection. During the very first round of the game, you won't do turn order selection because your turn order is randomly decided for you at the beginning of the game during setup. In future rounds, players take turns picking which turn order card they want from those available in the center of the table. The order in which they get to select their turn order card is based on score. Whoever has the lowest score gets to pick first, then the second lowest score, third lowest score, so on and so forth. If two or more players are tied on the scoreboard, the player who got there first gets to pick first. The way that you can track which player got there first is you can make sure that they are lower on the number. So, for example, if during the game, orange player gets 5 points, they would go to the bottom of the space. Then, if the teal player also got 5 points, they would go behind them. Once all players have their turn order cards, they can start playing turns, starting with the first player. On a player's turn, they're going to try and save books, I hope. And they do that by randomly drawing a cube from the library bag. On a player's turn, they must try to at least save one book from the library. After that, they can decide to keep trying to save books, or they can stop and just get out of there and score the books they've saved. So, on a player's turn, they will randomly draw one cube from the bag. The color of the cube denotes what section of the library the book comes from and how many points they'll get when they save that book. Each player's turn order card has slots on it, representing how many books they can carry from the library. Those slots also have icons underneath them depicting bonuses that they get for acquiring books up to that slot. The spaces on your turn order card can either be defined as safe or risky. You'll fill your card from the left to the right as you get books one by one from the bag. If you draw one of the 4 types of book cubes, that's good. That means that you have potentially saved one of those books. There's still a chance it could catch fire though, so be careful. If you draw a fire cube and it goes into a safe space, you're okay. There's some embers, some stuff smoking, but you haven't caught fire and the books that you've collected thus far haven't caught fire either. However, if you draw a second fire cube, you will catch fire and the books that you've collected will go up in flames, which ain't so good. Let's say that I've tried to save 2 books so far from the library, and I've succeeded. I have saved 2 different books. But on my 3rd attempt, I draw a fire cube into a risky space. This means that I caught fire, and the books that I had with me caught fire as well. So the fire spreads. What this means is that each of the books that I have will catch fire, burning a section of the library associated with that book type. So I will burn the top card of the black section of the library, and I will burn the top card of the yellow section of the library. When I reveal these cards, as soon as cards with the fire icon are revealed, that means the fire grows. I add 1 fire cube for each fire icon revealed to the library bag, meaning that the chance that somebody draws fire just got way worse. However, I do get a free tool from either the market or the top of the deck because I spread the fire. I figure maybe I should collect some tools to help with this firefighting part, seeing as I don't seem to be doing that good at it. In addition, any cubes that I drew and collected onto my turn order card get discarded back into the bag. Then I score 0 points because I caught a bunch of stuff on fire, and the bag passes to the next player's turn. I return my turn order card to the center. However, if instead of a fire cube I drew a book into the risky space, I'm fine, everything's safe, and the fire doesn't spread. If a player decides to stop drawing books, they score the books that they've saved thus far, according to the number shown in that section of the library. In addition, you also gain a bonus for when you decide to stop trying to save books. That bonus is whatever is depicted below the rightmost cube on your turn order card. The tool icon means that you can select one tool from the face-up market or draw the top card of the tool deck blind. The numbers represent additional points that you will score for using risky spaces of your turn order card. You only gain the number of points depicted under your rightmost cube. If I wanted to stop trying to save books now, I would gain 4 points for purple, 3 points for black, and 2 points for yellow, for a total of 9 points. I also would gain a bonus 2 points for bravery for going into risky spaces on my turn order card, giving me a total of 11 points. I return any books that I saved this round to the bag, return my turn order card to the center of the table, and pass the library bag to the next player. After all players have taken their turns and the turn order cards are back in the center of the table, the fire will spread on its own. Discard the card from the library with the lowest small number, meaning, in this case, the 1 is discarded. If a fire icon is revealed by discarding a card in the library, that means the fire has grown. So take a fire cube and add it to the library bag. It's now harder to save books. Now each player has the option of discarding 1 tool card from their hand that they're not interested in keeping and drawing a replacement card from the top of the deck. You don't get to draw your replacement card from the market. And that's the basics of how to play Fire in the Library. But things can get really interesting with the introduction of the tool cards. Tool cards can be played during certain phases of the game, denoted by the icon in the upper left corner of the tool card. The reference player card helps tell you what those icons are and when you can play them. This icon denotes which tool cards you can play during the turn order selection phase. If you want to play a tool card during the turn order selection phase, you need to play it before the first player has selected their turn order card. Go ahead and carry out whatever the card says to do, and then the turn order selection phase would continue as normal. Several cards you can play on your turn while you're trying to save books from the library. You can play these cards before you try to save books or during your attempts to try and save books. This icon represents cards that you can play after you've saved books and scored points for them, such as the library cart or the lockbox. And this icon means that you can play these cards after you or an opponent has triggered a fire spread. You can play these cards, and if those cards let you remove the fire from your turn order card, you can go back to trying to save books from the library. Or you can decide to stop because you've brushed enough luck and score. That would be boring though. Tool cards are very powerful and can be the difference between you spreading the fire or saving a bunch of books. So make sure you read them carefully, and if you figure that you don't really need a tool card, take advantage of that discard at the end of the round to get new tool cards into your hands. Players will keep playing rounds until one of the sections of the library has burned down completely, at which point the game ends immediately. Players will score any points on any cards that they have in their play area, such as the lockbox, and then that's it. Whoever has the most points at the end wins. And that's Fire in the Library. I hope this video helps you get up and running with Fire in the Library, designed by Tony Miller and John Prather, and published by Weird Giraffe Games. If you have any questions, go ahead and make sure you refer to the rulebook included in your copy of Fire in the Library. I hope that you have fun playing Fire in the Library, and thanks for watching.